are trying to keep their defense contracts and keep their reporting really good and simple. I've really enjoyed getting to know them and their business model, so I encourage you to check them out. I am independent of them. We happened to meet and there was some synergy between us, and I had some things that I'd like to share. So I've been in defense contracting for 16 years. I have worked on a variety of projects for almost all services, and here we have today on this slide, you see our Marine here. He's going to be our representative guy. Typically you'll hear me throughout the presentation refer to soldiers, even though that is just the Army, but we'll just use that generically for today. In the field, one word you might, first note you might take down if you're new to this is typically they'll be called war fighters. But I really like the personal nature of calling a particular service, and so we're gonna use soldier today. All right, so James is going to do a quick poll for you, and go ahead, James. I'll let you proceed with that.
Sure, let's do that. So we're going to ask you a very quick question, and if you'll simply respond to the question that comes up on the screen, it says, do you currently have, or are you in the process of getting a defense contract? Simply respond yes or no, and we'll share an aggregate of the responses here. I'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds. I appreciate everyone's participation. Looks like we're getting about 80% of you participating, which is a great number. And Dr. Faulkner, it looks like I'll share the results, but it's split right simply down the middle, 50 and 50 with the do or have not.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Okay, so this will be fun. So I will actually be presenting to both of you, and you'll hear me talk to both sides. A lot of the things are the same, and what you're going to see is a lot that's on a different kind of skill than is often attributed in this sort of a presentation. So first we're going to start with this. For yourself, go ahead and jot down what do you currently believe that defense most needs, and that might be in general or particularly in relation to what you offer. Then also note what it is, the specific thing that you currently sell or that you plan to sell to defense. So what are you offering that you know is this fabulous thing that they really need, and you can get some business off of it, because ultimately that's what we need to do. And then how do those two things meet? How does what you offer meet the need of what defense needs at this time? So stop and be thinking about that. This would be one of the first things that you and I would talk about if we sat down together and to hear about your business. And it's also, of course, a key that will guide us along as we go. So now that you've written down and thought about what that defense need is, you'll see in all sorts of places, whether it be on requests for a proposal or for those of you who are already in defense, in your hallway conversations, in your presentations, in your preparations for the next year's contracts, there is this very clearly delineated, a lot of things out there about what defense says that they need. And then you have some clearly delineated things about what you say that you have to offer. However, the real secret to either getting in or staying in and successfully delivering on defense contracts is to understand that there is a good deal more that is not being said. And that is what we're going to talk about today, are some of the secret things that are under the surface that we don't always know about, and how to find those out and speak to them. So if you're already in defense, you know this one well, that defense is complex. And there's all sorts of steps to go through and everything. If you are brand new and you haven't started, you are getting ready to find out. Even just your small journey into getting yourself registered online and all of your CCR and all of that sort of thing stuff done, you're gonna just even going through the web forms is like your introduction. And by the way, I always consider those a bit of a rite of passage. though going through all of that does start to give you a sense of the kind of red tape you're going to have to go through. And that is like the smallest bit of what you're getting ready to experience. But it's so worth it. There's a good reason why I've done this for 16 years and a number of my associates as well. Ultimately, we're out there to serve somebody that matters, and that makes it worthwhile. It makes it exciting to come to work every day. And not only are you serving that person, but you're getting to serve people who really care about what they do, because honestly, the largest part of who you're going to end up contracting with are not people in uniform at all. So we'll talk some more about that. And in order to continue to do that service, to offer what you have to offer, to make a difference, you have to get the next contracts. We have to look at the business. And the beauty of these contracts is that they both allow us to serve and they allow us to survive and to thrive in our own businesses. So it's really a lovely arrangement all around. And I know you're hearing a good deal about defense budgets being cut, contracts being cut. Yes, things will get lean, things will get smaller, but the truth is the government will still need what contractors have to offer, because it is an efficient way for defense and government to do business, to not have the overhead of all of those people inside the door, and also to have the flexibility to select contractors as defense needs come up and are needed. So your key then is to continue to find what those niches are, and also to be willing to change with those times and find what is needed now. Now, in order to do this, like I mentioned, there are a lot of other people involved in all of this, and you got to make a lot of people happy other than just, I have this great thing that's going to serve the end person. Or maybe what you have to offer doesn't serve the end person. And we'll find out more about how we make that connection depending upon what it is that you're selling. So to give you a little concept about what I have sold to defense over the years, primarily research and development sort of work in software and technology, also in training and communications, as well as even creating a leadership program, leadership collaboration program among Intel people, which was a particular challenge because Intel people by nature, by definition, do not share things with each other. And so we created a way for them to be able to collaborate and share resources across boundaries. And it was quite an exciting, facilitated experience that we created for them. So but to do so, we really had to learn to work with a lot of different kinds of people daily. So getting into defense and staying in defense, it's really the same approach. The secrets are exactly the same. Some of what you have to do to initially get in the door might be a little different, but ultimately getting that first contract, getting your next contract, delivering well on what you have, it really requires the same skills. Now, for those who are beginning to either propose new projects or who have been in defense and are proposing new ones, or your follow-on ones, a common mistake that gets made, especially as like you're getting ready to expand, is to make a lot of proposals, or to find all these different places to offer your solutions to, and to write very detailed write-ups that put out what you know is your defined solution. So there's this belief that the better I write it and the better I describe and in detail what I have to offer, because defense is so big on red tape, the better opportunity I have to get in. And honestly, in some ways, quite the opposite is true. Your best bet is to really focus on no more than 4 organizations. 3 is identical, with 2 being like the main ones that you're going for and 3 being your wild card. And to do that, you want to use something that I call a short pitch proposal, and that's going to be one of the tools that I teach in this particular class today. And but then also to anticipate that what you have to offer may not be exactly a match, or how you think you should describe it may not be exactly a match. So we have to be willing to look at what are the real underlying unspoken needs? What are the things at the heart of what's driving the government's request for proposals and what they say they're looking for, and be flexible and be willing to meet those, because it's often not going to be exactly what we thought we were going to sell to them. Okay, for those of you new into this, and maybe you've gotten all your forms and registries done and you're all in CCR and ORCA and all that sort of thing now, all of that, all of your flyers, all of your proposals, everything, all of that stuff, it won't meet the need, and it won't let them know, and it's not going to get you the contract. However, you do have to do all of those things. So think of all of those things, all of those gates you have to meet along the way. Think of that as like the bridge, building the bridge across the river, but you got to walk across the bridge for it to happen, and we're going to walk across the bridge. So this 7-step process is what I use. I am actually a turnaround specialist. I turn around both deliveries, actual current contracts where the sponsor has not been very happy, or there's trouble meeting the deadlines or whatever it is. And I find either shorter, cheaper ways to deliver on contracts that have already been awarded, or I find more creative solutions for how to meet the actual need. Sometimes I'll go in and re-identify the need so that we can have a successful delivery, and I've done that on such short turnaround. I've done that as much as restructuring an entire program 60 days before a delivery and then having a successful delivery to the customer. So I find that really exciting to do search and rescue. I also do this on proposals and contracts. So there was this one contract that I'll be using as an example throughout this presentation, where this particular one had been denied 3 times, or been proposed 2 times. It was getting ready to be proposed a 3rd time in this set of ones, and each year the defense got to pick out, this particular organization got to pick out 3 out of 10. And this one, the organization kept saying, we really want this, but we can't get leadership to pick it out of the set of 10, and no matter how much we say we want this. And so we had people on our side, inside of the fence, who wanted it. We knew how to do it, and we wrote it up, we thought, beautifully, and kept putting it out there. It kept getting denied. And so that's when I was brought in. This keeps getting denied. We don't know why. Here, give it a last-ditch effort. And they just brought me in for a couple of months. And so I set up one 30-minute conversation with the sponsor and actually found the key to all of it. And we were actually awarded the contract and a follow-on. So that's, and I use these 7 steps, and we're going to look at these top 4 steps today. Your delivery process is exactly the same as your proposal process. Even after you've been awarded a contract, I can guarantee you that the requirements have already changed. From the time you started talking to them to the week after everything is signed, it's already all changed. So as soon as it's signed, you need to be back in there with your sponsor and finding out, okay, now we've got it in there, now we've all got the conduit, now let's talk about what do you really need. And be ready again to change what you thought you were going to offer as your solution, so that you have the best running start on how to offer what they have to need, what they really need. Okay, so one of our real keys to all of this is to really pay attention and listen to what they need. Now, this is Paul Marcus. If you use PowerPoint clip art, you might recognize this as a photograph from there. So that's not the real picture of Paul, and Paul's real name is not Paul, but I can tell you Paul is a real person that I've actually worked with, and currently work with some in defense, and we have a really great relationship. And he's going to represent for us today who this person is. So the program manager is, those of you who are already in know this, but the program manager is really the guy who's going to help you get your foot in the door. And you have to convince him, you have to convince the 3 or 4 people that advise him that he looks to, and he's going to bring them in to talk to you. And then you make your case to him in such a way that he can make it for you to the other 8 people that you don't know about that have to sign off on it. So once you meet with Paul, we're going to talk a little more detail about that too, then you got to do your homework. So you really listen to him and find out what it is he needs, which is going to be different than anything that's printed anywhere. And then when you do your homework, you've got to find out what are the words that they use in that organization. You're going to look at their website. You're going to look at the other things that Paul has funded over the years. And this is whether you're getting something new or whether you're currently delivering now. If you're currently delivering now, look at the things that Paul has written to you. Look at the things that he's been concerned about. Where has he been traveling? Find out what he's doing and start asking deeper questions about what are his larger concerns in the organization. So that's part of what I did was I got to sit down with Paul and I pay attention. I pay attention to his travel schedule. Oh yeah, where's he going now? What you doing next week? How did that go? What was the hardest thing about what happened last week? So there's a lot of investigation that happens with him, and there's a lot of investigation that happens online. Another good source for investigation, both for expanding your business model and finding new defense work, as well as starting into it for your first time, is to look at a site such as USAgov, where you find out what they're actually spending money on. So this works in the SBIR proposals. This works in overall general finding out what government is spending on, anything where you can see what was awarded. DARPA contracts, just find out what everybody is awarding and find out what are the topics that are important to them. What are the things that they funded last year? Because most of what they're going to fund this year is going to be fairly close to that, and maybe 30 or less % is going to be brand new stuff that they have new problems on. So see what kinds of things that they really liked, and then start finding what are some of the niches that you can adjust to and meet there. Oh, another good approach to all of this is you can also, if you're starting out, or even if you've been in the game a long time. So our current group at the University of Texas, we have a research lab there where we're actually more of a software shop. We develop real solutions for the government, and we're wholly funded by defense, not by the university at all, but we work under the university rubric. And we actually even use this concept, which is partnering with organizations that already have contracts. Getting a contract vehicle can take quite some time and be very difficult to do. It's a technical process and it requires a lot of approvals. And so one way that you can get your foot in the door, either to new business starting out or into follow-on business if you're having trouble, or if one of your contracts is closed out and you don't have a vehicle anymore, is you partner with somebody that has one. So in our group, we've currently contracted or partnered with Computer Science Corporation, who was able to get a contract in with an organization that we've worked with before. And for us to get our follow-on funding, we partnered with them, went under their contract vehicle, and it made everything a lot easier for everybody. So that's another way to do it, is find, even those big organizations are not going to want to do all of the pieces of what they're proposing themselves. So you find, what parts can I offer, and subcontract to them. You can still list, I work for XYZ defense organization at Fort Hood. So you might work for the Operational Test Command because that's who you were subcontracted to. Even if you didn't have the contract directly with them, you still are doing the work with them. You can still say that you are, and they'll say that you are. So that's good for you for the future. All right, defense work and defense contracts are always custom solutions, even if you are delivering Post-it notes and pencils. So there may not be anything special about the Post-it notes and the pencils that you deliver, but there's going to be something special about how you deliver it to them. So, and if you are doing something like a technology solution or anything, or a service or anything else like that, that's going to be custom. You are always going to change it for defense. Otherwise, they go down to Walmart and buy it. So there's a reason why they want to contract with you. They want something special, and you have to find what that is and be willing to change your business to some extent to meet their need. And that's actually part of the fun of it, and that's one of the things that our team just loves, because we allow defense needs to take us in new business directions, and to take our thinking and our skills in new business directions that we hadn't thought of before. So while this can seem onerous to deliver custom for defense, it's going to be custom when they're working with contractors. All right, this is our biggest tool that we use when we go in to actually get these contracts. And instead of writing the 50-page impressive proposal, which, so a typical way for new folks or even older folks, because we've made this mistake ourselves too, is if we're wanting to expand our line of business. So I'll tell you this story. So previous defense lab that I worked with as well, we have a 50-year history contracting with the government, very strong organization, 700 people strong, and does many custom solutions for government. And so we were wanting to expand what our particular group within this organization had to offer. So we looked up requests for proposals. We found one out there. We found these keywords in this paragraph. So there were about like 7 or 8 paragraphs that describe different kinds of things that this Navy organization was wanting. And we found one of those paragraphs, and there were just some great keywords in there. We knew that our skills met that beautifully. So our program manager pulled together 6 of us, and a lot of PhDs, high-powered, really smart people, a couple business people, and had us all get together and start coming up with a solution to this problem. And so we started defining this beautiful solution, and we wrote this long proposal, and we knew we had to get ready for the phone call to the point of contact. So we knew that that was one of the gates, is that you got to find who the point of contact is, or the technical point of contact. So that would be called the TPOC, TPOC, in some circles or something like that. And so we were getting ready for our conversation with the TPOC, oh boy. And we spent probably several weeks and hundreds of hours really worth of time. It was, you don't always think about how costly that is to you, but when you count up the loaded personnel time, it was costly. And we get all ready, and we have this, finally get on this phone conference, and we're talking to this wonderful Navy lady in Florida. And she's listening, and she said, oh, this all sounds really great. Y'all are so talented. She said, there's only one kind of problem, something you need to know about, that we put out that request for proposal because we needed a placeholder for all of our contracts this year, and actually none of it's funded. It's not really there aren't really real projects behind it yet. You can imagine how the silence that fell in our room as we had, excitedly done all this preparation. And again, it was a very costly lesson learned, but it was a valuable lesson learned. And that is, you've got to get in and find out what government needs first. And so a rather brilliant businessman who also used to be in acquisitions in the Army, so he understands how the Army actually buys stuff. And his name is Aubrey White. He still works at the University of Texas in one of the defense labs. And so I'm crediting this to him. He doesn't call it a short pitch proposal. He calls it a quad sheet. You might have heard that term from a really long time ago. But he's developed it into this thing that is this short pitch sort of thing. And essentially it takes these 4, that's further down. Let me get to it and I'll come back. We're just going to skip down to short pitch. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So he takes these 4 areas where we go in and we pay attention to what is needed and writes up. And this is what he had done on what this team had done on this project, which was about delivering a training program. And so they'd written this, and this was the one that they submitted 3 different times, and it kept getting denied, denied, denied. But at least not a whole lot of work had gone into the proposal. So all that had happened is this one sheet, this single sheet of identifying what defense needed, identifying what it is we were going to give to them in very concrete ways, putting down here a timetable and how much it was going to cost, and then putting who this benefited in defense and who else in the organization supported it. Okay, so let's slip back up and I'll tell you that story and how that worked. See, isn't this fun? You get these little teasers here of what you're getting ready to see. Okay, so first and foremost that I did when they brought me in as the troubleshooter, like, Laura, can you try to see this one last ditch effort to make this happen? So the first thing we did was get in and meet and listen. So I'm trained as an anthropologist originally. Also have a doctorate in research psychology to make, essentially to make computers easier to use. But in that, everything that I do is about human communication, whether it's designing software, designing marketing materials, making a pitch, or simply finding out what's going on in an organization. And so I went in and I sat down with Paul, or actually just called him up because I was able to connect with him before, and so I was able to call him up, get a phone conference, and he brought those 3 advisors in with him and find out what is it that he's really needing, and started asking some questions that weren't specifically about the training program we were offering. Because you see, the secret code is all about who Paul reports to, and who, both up the chain and across the chain, and anybody, his peers and those that he reports to, in terms of anybody who can be an obstacle to stop what it is that we're trying to propose, because somebody kept stopping it. Why is that? So what I listened for was, what is the one thing that Paul most needs to be a rock star? Ultimately, it all came down to Paul had to justify up the chain why, not just why this training and certification program was needed, but why his whole organization was needed. Every defense organization that you contract with excuse me, has a risk of going away. So in all those cuts that you see happening, it's not just you and defense contractors that are being cut. Whole organizations get cut. And even in boom times, whole organizations get cut. And they are having to fight for their funding every year. So what we have to do is we find out, what do they need to be able to move on, and when we and to be able to be approved the next year. So what did Paul need? That and what was his problem? What was his organization's problem? What were his biggest concerns? So in the conversation, this is how it began, and it kept going over and over again, is we need this training and certification program. And so we kept writing this short pitch that said, here's your training and certification program for your organization. Over and over, it was denied. Over and over, it was denied. Afterwards, after I listened, I found out that the real problem was not that he needed a training and certification program. What his organization needed was credibility in Washington. Even down at the smallest levels of your contract, if you're selling the pencils and the Post-it notes, there's a reason, there's something that organization has to justify. They have to either show that they're operating under expenses, that they're showing value, that they're relevant still, or they're going to get cut. So they have to fight for their existence. So we found out that Paul's organization, what kept happening was that there were 2 other organizations that were looking at the pot of money that kept coming to XYZ organization. And they kept thinking that they could move these test capabilities that this organization had to Maryland or out to Fort Huachuca instead of here at Fort Hood. And the reason that the biggest thing that this organization at Fort Hood had to offer was this tremendously deep personal collateral. These people had set up this whole approach to this particular deep level kind of testing interoperability of complex communication systems. So why were these upstarts able to start saying that they could come in and do this? Because Washington didn't understand, one, the complexity of the problem, and two, the depth of this particular organization and what it had to offer. So what they had was not a personnel problem. Their personnel were well trained and they well understood, but they needed to be consistent. They needed to be able to present their products in a way and their reports in a way that the government wholly understood what the value is that they brought. And trust me, they bring a tremendous amount of value because they are the last line of defense before the soldiers take very complex communication systems out to the sand. I mean, it's really a very serious business. And how is it that defense was getting ready to lose this capability and the depth of this capability? So when we identified in this 30-minute phone conversation that's all it took, because what I started asking him was not, okay, so what do you want this training and certification program to look like? I started asking him questions like, Paul, what's the biggest challenge that you've had this year? In general, what was the biggest challenge? And that's when this whole story about Aberdeen and Arizona started coming up. He had not told that before. All he kept saying was, here's the solution that we need, here's the solution we need. So what he said he was needing and what he was really needing were, in a sense, two different things. And so I paid attention to that whole story. I started probing down more on Paul, Paul Marcus. Why is this? Now you know that my Paul is David. So Paul, why is this? Why are they challenging you? Why is it that they might get it away? And that's when we started finding out that they needed this key term, credibility. So I rewrote the proposal. Actually, I only rewrote a couple of sentences and the title. And instead of calling it a training and certification program, I called the title the result it would deliver, that it would deliver credibility through certification. And then it became not just a thing, but it became the end success. It was the thing that could make Paul's organization, and the larger organization Fort Hood look like rock stars in Washington, D.C., because it has to be justified to Congress in appropriations. So, when we changed that, it was not only was it funded finally after being denied, but even though it was like number 5 in the list that went up to Fort Hood, leadership saw that, pulled it out from its number 5 position and funded it first. Huge turnaround for a very small investment. 1 30-minute phone conversation, changing a few words in a proposal. A short pitch proposal that was very easy to edit. It was a very dramatic turnaround, and it made a difference. So the key to all of it is to pay attention. If you're currently delivering and you want to know why, so why was this presentation in terms of how to successfully execute on defense contracts, you better keep listening. Keep listening, because what you are delivering now, you've already felt the pain probably, is that you got to the end of the contract because of time, because of changed requirements, all sorts of things along the way. You delivered something, it seems to meet all of the requirements. On paper you can show that it meets the primary requirements and the ones that changed along the way. And then somewhere along the way, everybody is just kind of lukewarm happy, instead of really ecstatic about what you just delivered. And you know you did only part of it, but you know you also met all the requirements. You have to keep listening. You have to keep finding out what it is that they need that you can give to them. We've just turned around another one that all along the way they were telling us they needed this training program about soft skills for lieutenants of new platoons, and they so we were developing this training program. It was like a year and a half, and kept sending them things, and the sponsor wasn't happy. They weren't happy. They weren't happy. Come to find out, what they really wanted was they wanted a system for their curriculum developers to be able to build trainings. They wanted one training that was an example, and then they wanted a guideline, a guidebook about how do we train and assess for soft skills so that they could write the curriculum themselves. That was the piece, the very critical piece that we missed. It's like they said, we need this training program. We said, great, we'll make this training program for you. And so this was another one that I got brought in late in the game, and we've actually taken a very simple solution, turned it around in about 3 months, and we'll be delivering it next month. And now the sponsor is very happy with it. So always keep listening to what it is. If they're starting to feel that, or you're starting to hear some bit of unhappiness and disgruntled, you want to make them ecstatically happy, because that's what's going to help get you that next contract. Listen again, listen again, listen again. Be willing to change. Be willing to change. Okay, so as you do this short pitch, I'm going to anticipate a couple of questions that tend to come up. So you can jot down in your own notes. In pain point here, this is where you use their words. So as you've listened for it, you use the words that they use all the time, and that that describes what their pain point is. So the thing that's going wrong and all the bad stuff, your last sentence here should be the bad stuff that's going to happen if they don't have your solution. In your products and deliverables, make sure that you have put very concrete things. A common mistake in first-time folks who are applying for Phase 1 SBIR grants, which I've done as well, and worked with an organization that's gotten up to Phase 3. I think they're currently getting a Phase 4 now. I didn't get to be on that one, but I got to be on some of the earlier ones that they've done. And but a common mistake that gets made in products and deliverables is in Phase 1, often the only requirement is a report. So report and recommendations for the follow-on. A report is never, ever going to get you the contract. So you better come up with, even if it's a prototype, some sort of concrete thing that you are going to deliver to them, something working, a working prototype of some sort or anything like that. You want to make your products and deliverables something that are easy to understand, easy for people to get their minds around. So even if your primary product and deliverable is a report or recommendations or a process or a document of some sort, come up with some, even if it's a small thing, something a little more concrete that you can deliver. It really will help them be able to look like a rock star and sell your proposal. Because yes, we sell to Paul Marcus, and then Paul Marcus takes it and sells it up the chain to the people we can't get to. So we enroll him, and we give him all the tools that he needs to communicate well. So by using his language, we can he's able to communicate well. Okay, this is guys why we need this, and then and here's what the great thing we're going to get out of it. Now, in solution proposed, what we do in this section is that we just give a one line of what we're going to deliver. We've already given our deliverables up here, so we just give a one sentence about what the overall solution is. Then we use the rest of this space to put in like a small Gantt chart that shows the top 5 things that we are going to deliver throughout the, well, complete or deliver throughout the year. And again, you want to make those things be like defined so that the government is getting value all along the way. They don't just want value at the end. You want to show value all along the way. So you want to show, okay, we're going to finish this step 1 by here, and you're going to have something. And in that, we also put, you know, how much time that we anticipate that's going to take. And then the last big thing we put here, and we actually even break it down among these other steps, but we put how much it's going to cost. It is okay to make a big wild-ass guess and put that in this document even at this early stage, because, so if you're proposing a new contract, if you're getting things for people to shop around now, or if you're expanding your business, putting in what it's going to cost. If you're midway through, this is also a great tool to use as you're in delivery, because you can use this short pitch to as checks along the way. Are we still making you happy? Are we still meeting your needs? And so you can use this concept. It's just not as a proposal. It's more of as a, okay, here's a summary of what we're doing instead of a whole long slide deck. Also, I will tell you, we do create this in PowerPoint, and we are very disciplined about keeping this to, that PowerPoint deck has one slide and one slide only. This is it. And it's a physical piece of paper, and then we take and shop that paper around. Let me tell you this last bit here on the benefits and support, and then I'll tell you how we shop it around. So in benefits and support, benefits always has to say how you're going to benefit the warfighter. Now, what you may be delivering may not get anywhere near the warfighter. It may be miles away from them, and it may not ever touch them. A lot of what we deliver don't. A lot of what we deliver actually serves the civilian workforce, the enormous civilian workforce that supports the uniformed soldier. Uniformed soldiers, uniform force, it's a rotating force. They come in and out. Yes, you can sell to them, and you're going to have to some extent, but really it's the people in civilian clothing that are the ones that have been there for years. They're the ones that are going to stay. They're the ones that are going to make the decision over the long haul, and you need to cultivate those relationships and keep those relationships. Yes, you still have to make the colonel happy, but really you got to make Paul Marcus happy and the people around him. But for him to be able to justify this to the colonel and to Congress and to everybody else in benefits, you have to say how it's going to benefit the warfighter. So, for example, when we're training a civilian workforce, say in that training and certification program, we weren't training anybody that was doing stuff for the soldier. We were, or that was actually the soldier. We were just training the people that did the testing for stuff before it went out to the field. So we look at what is the connection and how is this going to benefit the warfighter. So always you want to put how it's going to benefit the warfighter here. And I can tell you a great deal more about that. You're most welcome to email me directly, and James will provide you my contact information, and I can help you identify how your particular solution. I'll be happy to just talk with you for 15 minutes on the phone and help you identify how to talk about how your solution connects to the warfighter. And then this support word is a very interesting one. So another great way to get your foot in the door and to get strong look at your short pitch and ultimately at what you have to offer is that as you're shopping this around, initially you leave support blank, you don't put it in there. So the first few people that you shop it around to, maybe you're shopping it to Paul, maybe you're shopping it to Paul's admin or one of those 3 people that he works with, whoever, is that you find somebody that starts to like your idea. And anybody that starts to like your idea, you just say, oh, can I put you down as, can I put you here as that you like this, that you'd be in favor of this being funded? And as you start dropping those names in their organization, that strengthens your proposal. So yeah, we would actually put Paul's name, but we also might go down the street. So say if we're going to Paul's organization, we go down the street to the Operational Test Command at Fort Hood, and we might say, oh, we're doing this other thing for them. Do you think this is a good idea? You do? Wow. Could I put you down as, can I write that down as you would be in support of XYZ organization getting this? So all of that name dropping starts to make a difference because it gives confidence. All of these things start giving everybody, all of the decision makers, confidence that, one, they are not putting themselves at risk by funding you, and 2, that you are going to help their organizations shine, and that that this is going to be sellable. You're not going to make them look like a fool. They really need to know that they're going to look like rock stars, and so you're going to give them all the tools to do that. Okay, then we take this iterative process, and so we go around and we talk to a lot of people, and we'll print this out, and we'll print out several copies of it. And whenever you are in an organization, you're having lunch with anybody, you're at a conference, a defense conference where you're going to be meeting defense folks and other contractors or whoever, have these quad sheets printed out. So instead of your flyer, yes, it's great to have a flyer that shows your core capabilities, but if you have these ideas, start putting these ideas on here, not just having your verbal elevator pitch. This is something concrete people can see. But the other thing they do is that they then start becoming your champion. They start becoming your advocate. And they are then able to take this piece of paper around and also or send it by email. And it's this one sheet thing that all sorts of decision makers can see in a very short glance. They can take it in, they can understand it, and as they do, then they start to get into it and believe in you, and then they start to advocate you and your solution. So this also works as you're trying to deliver, because you keep putting, you can refine this instead of refining your complex requirements documents, and or keep showing over and over again new prototypes and that sort of thing where you have to do whole long slide presentations. Also keep a short pitch at hand that shows what your current direction is. That way you can keep shopping it around very quickly without having to be there or without having to do long presentations or get the opportunity to do long pitches, and to make sure that you're still on the right track. And it's much easier to change things before you get them delivered, obviously. All of this, it's hard, and it's so worth it, because even well, honestly, yes, you get to serve the soldier in the field. Ultimately, it all goes to work with them. But also, I found it very gratifying to work with this large civilian workforce that you really do the most of your selling to, because they all care about what they're doing. They have a reason to go to work in the morning, and to contract with them as opposed to contracting with industry or someone else, it's such a joy, because these people have a reason, a mission to get up in the morning. They know that ultimately they're contributing to the peace of the world. That's not a trite message even at this season. It's true. And I sat with some folks in Germany and asked them these sorts of questions. So why do you do this work? Why did you move all the way over here to work with this contractor and work with defense way over here in Europe, away from your family, away from everything? They said, because what we do makes a difference. And I said, how? And I said, what is it ultimately that you're trying to give in defense? They said, if we do our job well, then what the soldiers have to offer is that, and what we have to offer them, is that we help increase their ability to survive in very complex missions. We support their ability to complete their missions successfully, and we support their ability to become a force of deterrence and peacekeeping in the world. Dang, what a great reason to go to work. So yeah, it's worth all of the red tape and all of the listening, but really to successfully achieve and retain and deliver your contracts, it's all about the conversation. And it's all about some very skilled ways and rapid ways to handle the conversation and to handle the fast changes that you need to make as things change, because things will change. Okay. Questions?
Let's go ahead and dive into some questions. We've got 9 or 10 minutes left, and we've got some questions beginning to come through. If you've not already submitted your question, I would encourage you to do so using the Questions tab. And let's see how many of these we can get to today. Laura, let's jump into the first one. Our first question comes in from Daniel. Daniel says, you talked at the beginning about your product, the item that you're selling. I'm not sure that my product is directly intended for the soldier, even though you said everything really is. Does that matter?
So yes and no. So defense is going to need everything from, again, Post-it notes and pencils to timekeeping software to all sorts of intense technical solutions. Gosh, the number of technical solutions that we've provided. I know my VP for research is on the line right now listening, and he could probably tell you about half a dozen or more things, unusual things that we've delivered over the years. And again, most of it's been to the civilian workforce. In fact, one thing was to two civilians. There were only 2 civilians in the world that did this particular task, and we delivered a software application that helped them do that and do that more effectively. And But ultimately, there's always a chain. It exists, all of it exists to support the warfighter and for their survivability, success, mission success, and deterrence. And so it's when you put it in the short pitch as far as who it benefits, you identify what that chain is. So, and even if you have to skip a bunch of steps, like if we support this organization, if this organization can run more cheaply, if this organization can run more efficiently, if this organization can provide better answers, if this organization can provide faster answers to government, if this organization can provide faster products, anything that that organization does. So you kind of piggyback onto the organization that you're contracting with to their mission, and you say, if we can help them do this mission better, then it's going to support the warfighter in this way. So yes, it's always, always connectable, or it wouldn't exist.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Dr. Faulkner's, even while you were presenting, I was looking through my email, which I tended, you know, okay, I'm multitasking, and there was a blog that was posted today. It was talking about what are some of the interesting things that the government spends money on. So what an interesting topic that came up. Two of the things that they mentioned was they in the last 10 years they spent $2 billion on pyrotechnics. They called that fireworks. They spent money on archaeological, paleontological studies, and a bunch of toilet soap on a rope. So just goes to show you that they need a lot of different things, don't they?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So yeah, it's like some of the archaeology, for example, that helps them. One of the ways that they apply something like that is to be able to train their soldiers to find things like buried IEDs and mines and things like that. So when they see how archaeologists identify stuff and find it, they can train the soldiers to do that so they can see things better in the field. So yeah, there's all sorts of applications out there, and I can pretty well guarantee that whatever it is you have to offer, they need it. It's just a matter of how to language it so that they understand how that you're going to meet their need.
Good point. Well, let's take another question. We've got a question coming in. This one is from Wendy. Wendy says, where do we get what you call the support part of the short pitch that you mentioned?
So that's always that question comes up frequently, and that is where you have made other connections. So as you start courting those 2 to 4 organizations, continue, and if you're currently in those contracts, you continue to develop those relationships. You find anybody you can to talk to, and it really can be anyone, preferably the higher up the better, but it doesn't have to be a general or somebody. If you can get a general, great, put that down. If you can get a retired general, put that down. They're great. Retired generals and retired colonels, they love to talk. And their endorsement can be really, really good. So anybody who's willing to talk to you about what it is you have to offer, that's who you want to be able to get. It's really more name dropping than anything else. It's that somebody else saw that what you have to offer is of value and is credible. So that's where you get that. You make the human connections and you keep making them, and you ask their permission to quote their name.
Thank you. Well, we've got 2 or 3 minutes left and some more questions coming through. I would encourage you, if you've not already submitted your question, feel free to do so. If we happen to run out of time, then what I'll do is I'll have to cut off the audio portion, but I'll leave the electronic version up for a few extra minutes and allow you to send across your questions. And I'm sure Dr. Faulkner would be more than happy to respond to you offline by email after the webinar today. Here's our next question. Comes in from Claire. Claire says, are there benefits associated with being a woman-owned business or other minority statuses?
Yes and no. That is not ever going to guarantee that you can get in. It's not even necessarily going to guarantee you the edge. There are still, though, obviously those programs and the quotas for those do exist. So each organization has a certain number of the publicly presented RFPs that they put out that have to be filled by the disadvantaged businesses. However, it does give you a slight psychological advantage, because even when those are not required, that can be a good reason why they might want to talk to you or continue to do it. Honestly, that's not going to make the ultimate difference in you getting the contract. You better be pretty sharp on what it is you have to offer and show them, because the biggest non-disadvantaged business might edge you out. Recent myth that has come up is that defense is not going to be wanting to contract with small businesses very much. Again, absolutely not true. Small businesses are in many ways more agile and can respond a little faster sometimes and be more flexible than a large one. So if you are small or medium size, you may have just the edge that they need. You're small, you're easy to work with, and you can also offer them something. Here's something else that could give you an edge if you're just trying to get in, or if you're trying to change and expand your line of business, is see if you can find a very small problem to solve for under $3,000. Now, if you're a large organization and you already have defense contracts, you can still offer to do this, and this is why. Because Paul has a credit card, and he can make purchases under $3,000 with the credit card. So if he can pay you with a credit card and let you solve some small problem for him, it can start getting you in the door and a way for you to show that you've done business with government before, which strengthens you as well. But yes, do go through all of the registries if you are a disadvantaged business and make sure that you're already certified, shown as that. And know that can sometimes get your foot in the door, but you're still going to have to do the homework to get the job.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dr. Faulkner. I know that a lot of folks have had that question on their mind in reference to, they knew that there was a threshold, and that $3,000 threshold is certainly something that I know that the SBA and some of the SBDCs also push as well, to try to get your foot in the door, as well as teaming or subcontracting to kind of get a start. Well, we've run close to the end of our time, and we still have some more questions coming through. Like I said, we'll leave the question open for a few extra minutes, but I want to keep you to our confirmed 1 hour timeline, because I know everybody's got things to do. Dr. Faulkner, do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
Just that if you'll see the slide presentation, you'll see a few resources on there. Also, we can, Falcon Day can sit down and talk to you personally and help you write your short pitch. If you would write to my research VP, John, at Falcon Day, and just let him know if you would like for us to help you craft your own short pitch. We can do that in a half a day with you, and try to arrange it according to what would serve you best. Really, our goal here at Falcon Day is to help you breathe easier and to help create your customer as your champion, whoever your customer is, whether it's defense or anybody else. That's really what we're all about, is making them ecstatically happy.
Well, thank you, Dr. Faulkner, and thank you for spending time with us today. We certainly appreciate it, and I would encourage all of our listeners today to contact Falcon Day if you have questions, if you have concerns, or if you know that you want to proceed down that road. Feel free to contact them. They're an excellent firm. They can help you out in crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, and making sure that you're not just, as we talked about today on the webinar, not just getting the contract, but as Dr. Faulkner said there at the end, making a happy customer. I mean, the government is a customer, just like any of your other customers, and if you don't make customers happy, you don't keep the business. So please do contact Dr. Faulkner and Falcon Day if you have interest in that. You may ask, why does Journyx sponsor this webinar? We've been around for 15 years. We have a web-based solution for helping to track time and track expenses and track people. And those tools are very helpful when you integrate those correctly with QuickBooks or Microsoft Dynamics in such a way that you can be DCAA compliant, which is a biggie in the government. You want to be compliant. You don't want to lose your contract due to non-compliance. And we have yet, over our 15 years, had one of our clients fail a DCAA audit when they followed our guidelines and connected correctly and set up their QuickBooks correctly. And so we can help you to do that. So feel free to visit our website for more information on what Journyx can help you with. Also got several other webinars going on, been going on for the last 6 or 8 weeks, as well as going on for the next couple of weeks. excellent, excellent speakers, just like Dr. Faulkner today, talking on various topics of compensation compliance and setting up your contracts, how to get contracts, how to be compliant. Those are different topics that may be helpful to you, and I would encourage you to take advantage of this webinar series and sit underneath some of these experts who have many, many years of experience. Again, we want to thank you for your time today. We hope that this has been valuable and that all of your contracting will be successful. Have a wonderful day.